They want me to change, but I ain't changing. Nah, I remain the same.
And you are now tuned into another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio, brought to you by M3S3 Clothing. Oops, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wu Tang though. Brought to you by M3S3 Clothing. Me and make moves and suckers stand still. And as always, on the mighty Nerd DJs Radio Network. And you already know, man, we only rock with legends around here. And today, oh my God, is absolutely no exception. When they say Black Girl Magic, she is the epitome movie making, just everywhere, and does it in such a unique way and shot so phenomenally. Let's get Moon Ferguson on. How you doing, Queen?
Hello.
How's life? How's your family?
Life is life. My family is good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because life has been kicking my ass lately. I'm not gonna lie.
Plus one.
Oh my God. Moon is that your government?
No, it's not. It's a family nickname.
Any origin to it, or it's just they just start calling you Moon?
The light in the dark sky. My family had a lot of turmoil. Um, when I was younger, my dad passed. Was murdered when I was 2. So when I lived in Jamaica as a young girl, I lived with my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother in Jamaica, and she, just said, "We're the light in the dark sky, the moon."
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I never really held on to it until it was time for me to figure out if I wanted to use my government name as a filmmaker or a pen name. So I decided to go with the pen name.
At what point did you decide that's what you wanted to do with your life?
Filmmaking.
Yes.
Um, I've always loved filmmaking. Well, I've always loved films, watching TV and reading books and stuff like that. Well, stories in general. I love stories. Doesn't matter the medium of how they come. Um, and it wasn't until I dibble dabbled a little in like videography and photography and stuff like that, like creative stuff. I paint, I draw. I always knew I wanted to be a creative. I just didn't know which medium. And I didn't really have a childhood where I could express that and dibble dabble and stuff because I am a child of immigrants. And a lot of times, maybe not now in 2024, but definitely back in the 90s, immigrants come to this country, they're coming for one thing and one thing only, stability. And what they hear from America is you go to America, you finish school, you go to college, you get a job, and you get a house, and blah 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 blah. Life is set. Like
Yeah.
wondering and curiosity and dibble dabbling and finding yourself. That's that's non-existent. So
Mo, do me one favor. Scoot back just a titch. Because it's just giving a funny little on the audio.
oh, there we go. Is that better?
Daddy, oh wow, let me see. Is it Hood Mona Lisa?
Oh yes. It's a
Yo,
Megan the Stallion shirt. I
yo, that's
got like
dope,
in
dope.
2020 or 2021. So yeah, so I always wanted to be a creative. And it wasn't until when I was like 25, 26, and I fell into a screenwriting class for the program that I was in. I was in a physician assistant program. Um, and I took screenwriting as an elective, and that kind of cemented me into, like, my brain just clicked and was just like, well, why aren't we doing this? And they have a bachelor's degree for film. And also, like, when I was out of high school, I wanted to go into to do animation. I love cartoons and children's media, so that's kind of where I wanted to start first. Parents were like, absolutely not, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And I'm the oldest, so
Ooh.
the oldest, it's really like you're built to be obedient, especially as a girl. The oldest daughters are always built to be obedient, so I didn't do any pushback on it. Um, And then film school also, I'm from the hood, projects, stuff like that. We bounced around. So film school was like rich people stuff. It was at all the little, it was at UM and FSU and NYU and UCLA, like all those high price rich people schools. Um, so I went to Miami-Dade College, which used to be Miami-Dade Community College, but they started offering bachelors. So I was doing a physician assistant. I decided to do physician assistant program there. And then I saw that they had a filmmaking program, filmmaking degree. And my friend, my best friend now, but we had just met at the time. She was in that program also. And I was like, oh, wow, a cheap film program. But I still went with physician assistant because my mama's voice in my head.
Yeah,
I was like 25, 26 at that time.
it was a safe
Um,
bet.
it was safe. And my son was 7 or 8 at that time. So like I was kind of running out of time to have a cemented stable job. I was running out of time to be like stable and like be a big girl and be an adult and all that other stuff. Um, and then I found this class. I did it as an elective. And after that one class, I went to my academic advisor and was like, I want to be in the film program. Um, and I switched, and that's how we got here.
What was the conversation like with your moms?
Um, well, what made me switch so quick also is I was been out the house. Like I had my own apartment since like 23.
Okay.
So I wasn't living with her, but I was still like, oh, I'm gonna have to hear her mouth. She was just more concerned about my son and like how was I gonna basically how was I going to survive and how I was going to eat. And my son, it was mostly like, well, how is he going to sleep, how he's going to have steady
Yeah.
income, how is he going to do this, how's he going to do that, like what kind of job are you going to get. Like it was just so foreign because she comes from nursing and she knows that you go to school, you take a test, you're a nurse. Whereas filmmaking is not linear at all. It's
No.
like
And
you
and,
know,
and you may be getting $100,000 this week and nothing for the next 5 years.
listen, I'm living it.
So let me ask you
Exactly
this:
that.
was there one film or TV show that sparked all this in the beginning?
To actually make films. One TV, yes, it was Law and Order SVU. That sparked it, and it sparked it because I was either a junior or a senior in high school, and I had a forensic science class. And part of our project, we had to create a crime scene and like videotape it like the show CSI. So when I was doing that, when we were making our film and making our little scene and recording it and all that stuff, I had like outside the school, the dumpster, like security guard thought something really happened because I'm like making it believable with the blood and the this, and we had debate. It was a lot. So I found so much joy in it. I was found so much joy in it, and then it just kind of like igniting me to tell stories more so because um, I was trying to be an SVU episode. And then I started, and I've loved SVU. Who doesn't? Like that's
Oh,
just
the goat.
you
Like,
always
come
want
on
to watch
now.
it when it's odd. So so yeah, so when I did that, that's when I that passion to spark. I was like, oh, well, maybe do they? Can you go to? Can I was asking like, can you go to school for film? Because I know there was TV production classes in high school. Um, but normally it was for like the news and like broadcast, and I wanted to know like, no, can I didn't care for news. I don't care for communications. But I wanted to know if I could actually go to school to learn how to do this, like make stories and stuff like that. So that sparked it. And then my mom had this camcorder. So then I started just recording and forcing my younger siblings to make wild shows with me, and they did it. They did it. And then I fell off because I got pregnant and freshman in college at 18, and all that kind of just warped to the back of my head until it started to creep out again. When I went to leading up to going to film school.
So, what was the first movie you did? The first thing you wrote,
The
screenplay wise?
first screenplay I wrote was a Christmas film, a Christmas short film about this dude who brings his girlfriend home for Christmas, don't really want to be around his family, and then you find out like his dad, it was like he left because his dad was dealing with addiction and stuff like that. So um that was like 2015. That was the very 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 first.
Yo,
um
that's dark though.
huh
It's kind of dark.
It is. I'm typically, the stuff I typically write is very is it really dark? It's not dark. I mean, typically it's like conversations, like, things that a lot of people deal with that they don't want to talk about. A lot of things that people deal with, they feel like they've gone through it alone. And even though it may have dark tones and themes, there's still levity towards it to show, that transformation, because every story needs a conflict, and every story needs something for your character to grow and or to learn. So with that, he learned grace, and he learned forgiveness, and he learned things like that. And typically sometimes it also is a mirror of me. I may not be actually going through that specific thing, but I may be that character. And I know for me, as the oldest, I've always had um, pockets of time where I would isolate myself from my family. And that is to save my sanity, because they are so codependent on me, down from my parents down to the siblings. So, like, being the eldest daughter, that is seemed like the only one who knows who have sense and balance, and like calming people down, like, okay, let's just talk about it. Okay, well, if mom is not going to do this, I'll do this, or if mom too tired to do this, I'll cook dinner. Like, so I had to, like, there came a time where there were times where I would just isolate myself, because if I don't, they're going to run me down to the ground, and then I'm of no use to my child or myself. So typically a lot of my characters will show that, like, I'm called the runaway because I ran away from home like so many times as a kid to a teenager. um so like sometimes my characters are those runaway characters where they're like, okay, I gotta choose me and leave my family to their own demise. um and yeah, so that's that.
So I was watching a little bit of Juju
Hmm.
on YouTube, and Jesus, dude, huge following.
Hmm.
But I was surprised at how many witches like there are out there in the world. And apparently they all have watched the
Oh
series.
yeah, they still bang on my door for a second season.
What you waiting on, or is it gonna happen?
It would happen if the money came. I'm not that Juju is not my first priority right now, because I feel like it's done what it needed to do for me. That was my first series and my first project. No, not my first project out of film school, but that was when, like, Juju is like my sixth project. A lot of
Okay.
people think Juju is my very first, but there's a lot more before I actually like got it. Juju is where I got it, where I understood marketing, and I understood the different phases of post production. I understood the different phases of production and stuff like that. Um, it has been remastered, meaning it has been picked up for television, and it's going to be on TV in March. So I did get was blessed to get a grant last year from Comcast to finish it. So it's still the same first season, but it's a lot of more scenes added in that we took out, that because I edited, shot it, wrote it, all that stuff back then in 2019 when I had nothing else to do. When I had the energy and I could handle all those roles. I don't do that anymore. I do one thing and I delegate. But it looks more refined, and it has original score, it has better VFX. The episodes are cut differently, and we added some scenes that we didn't add in there to round out the story. So it's essentially going to be a whole new tone, and once it's on air in March.
What struck me, it seemed to be shot differently, and like I was telling Rita, I'm like, it wasn't like a, and respectfully, because Tubi's got some great movies, but it didn't seem to be created like for Tubi. It just was a really good shot and thought out series. Intentional, or is that just happenstance?
I think it just happenstance. I was just making it to make it. I wrote it in 2018, and then we raised money in 2019. So I had just moved to New York. And I was trying to figure out, okay, I'm out of school. I just finished this screenwriting program, this master's program. So I was really trying to figure out, like, okay, who are you as a filmmaker and a storyteller? Like, what stories do you want to tell? And I was getting caught up with the festival stories. Like, you get caught up with seeing all these festival selections and this, that, and the third. And mind you, I'm still new, but I was starting to let all that comparison stuff creep into me. I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I write this sappy drama, or maybe if I write this social context drama, or this political drama, or this police brutality, or like all that other stuff, maybe I'll get in. But then I was like, okay, well, you're just doing that to get something. And then I was watching Vampire Diaries. Didn't like how Vampire Diaries ended and how they treated a Black character. I love Charmed. Insecure was out at that time. So I was like, oh, let me just write something that I like. I like witches. I love fantasy. I love make believe. I love monsters. So why not write a witch story about three girls? And the three girls are me split in three. Um, the three different things that I deal with. Um, and yeah, and I made it to make friends because I was new in New York. So I was like, oh, what better way to make friends than to work on films and stuff? I was working on a bunch of indie sets in New York. And then once I had this, I met some friends. I met my best friend, who's my best friend to this day, and we've been making films since then. And yeah, and then it went viral, and then come to find out, a lot of people love witch shit. So, and I was like, oh, I'm not the only weirdo who likes to dibble and dabble in magic. And then it just also allowed me to kind of learn more about spirituality versus religion, because I did grow up a church girl. Being Caribbean and then also being from the South, like there was no possible way that I wasn't gonna grow up in the church.
No comment.
But it was one of somebody was gonna get me to church. Somebody. But also because I watched so much horror films and I watched so many Charmed a lot. When I did go to church as a kid in America and in Jamaica, I would see the similarities between spells and between what's going on in the church. And I've always been the outspoken person to speak out about it. In Jamaica, my grandmother was Catholic, so we would go to the Catholic church and, the lighting of the candles and the this, the that. And I was like, well, grandma, he's doing a whole seance. Like, this is a whole spell. Like, what are we talking about? And then she was like, please, girl, don't get me kicked out. Because again, I'm the American child. And they're like, please get this American child bullshit out of here. But yeah, as I got older and older, and I'm a big, I study the Bible a lot. I use it in tarot reading and things of that nature. But like I said, just growing up Jamaican and seeing Jamaicans are like very superstitious, seeing the little small little nuances that they do, like salt in front of the door or holy water blessing the house, walking around with that ash cross and stuff like that, and mopping the floor with Florida water.
Wait, whoa,
So
whoa, mopping the floor with what?
Florida water. So it's a so seeing also growing up with those, I always thought they were normal until I watched TV, and I'm like, oh, these are stuff that witches do, but also on TV it's construed and portrayed a different way. So a lot of times I will find myself saying, well, no, that's not true, or that's not right, or they're making this look evil, this, that, and the third. So Juju kind of came about of like so many different things, wanting to make friends, wanting to write something that's close to me, writing to show the parallel of religion and spirituality and how they are on the same, run the same line, and just just really black girl magic.
So, how do you end up doing a project with Gail Bean?
Oh, Gail, Robin Hood. So with Robin Hood, a friend of mine and a colleague who I went to college with, Shayla Raquel. She's another phenomenal filmmaker. We kind of sort of started the same, like we're each other's cohorts in our wave of filmmakers. Um, she reached out to me to produce. She wrote it and she reached out to me to direct it after seeing what I did with Juju, and we collaborated on that. And Gail and Shayla are part of the same sorority. So Gail was already a fan of Shayla, and then finding out that she's also a Delta. They're both Deltas. That was like the done deal. And then she just hopped on board, and she became. I mean, she was shooting it during her rehearsals for P Valley, and she came on very humble, very sweet, ready to work, and she put her all into it. She treated like she was on the set of Snowfall. She came on time. She did her stuff. She brought her talents with her, and then yeah, we after that we basically became friends after that. So that's how that story happened. And I believe Shayla reached out to her also. So if there's any filmmakers out there, do not be afraid to reach out to these actors, because you just never know. Because Gail was looking to do a lead role. She's never done a lead role, and Robin Hood was her first lead. So a lot of times these actors, yeah, they may have like these recurring roles on TV as like supporting, but sometimes they're looking to exercise their talents in a lead position, and
Yeah.
might be willing to take on a short film role because one is low commitment, and two, it allows them to be the lead of something, especially if they know that is gonna can go somewhere.
And it and being if it's independent and it doesn't do anything for them, it just doesn't do anything. But the upside is crazy. You know, if they knock it out the park, now you at Sundance, now you at Martha's Vineyard. Matter of fact, speaking of the film festivals, I know you said earlier that you were initially writing to be in those, but when they start calling you, how's like how does that feel?
It feels nice. It does feel nice to be recognized. I always do festivals to just get it out there. I just, you just release it, and whatever comes back comes back. I try not to have too much expectations and stuff like that, just because this industry is just so fickle, and these festivals, they want different things, different years. Um, for Juju, we were in a few festivals, and that's only because our runtime was pretty long for a lot of festivals. Um, and then yeah, then as we just kind of started making more films, we just kind of strategically see which festival fit the project, because not all festivals fit your project. And again, every year they're looking for like something different. But yeah, it definitely does feel good when they, you get selected and awarded and recognized, because sometimes you feel like nobody's watching, or you're overlooked, and that can take a toll on your confidence and your motivation and all that other stuff. But yeah, it's very nice to have the recognition.
How many projects do you have so far?
So far,
Let me see. I got Dark Before Dawn, Robin Hood, a horror anthology, Skettle, Street Food, the 1619 Project, Over the Wall, which Over the Wall, that it's a documentary, right?
hmm
First Sister in NASCAR, the pit crew.
and tire changer.
What was it about that? Like what was why that? There's a lot of firsts for women out there, sisters. What was it about NASCAR? You don't look like a NASCAR fan.
Me and my aunt actually worked on that. My aunt directed it, and I produced it. She's a doc girl, but with that, I believe why we went with that is because it's NASCAR, and like the any you throw NASCAR out there, automatically you're not gonna picture any black people at all, especially being from Florida.
Man, listen,
um,
being from anywhere.
Right. So when you hear NASCAR, you hear about like your Dale Earnhardts and all that stuff, like the white boys. And like it's just one of those sports like you just don't envision black people at all. Um and for her to be the first black girl in her 20s, I think she was like had to be under 25 when she started. I don't think she's 30 yet. But maybe she is now. But yeah, the first black girl and woman tire changer and pit crew member. She's part of the pit crew, as well as her part in the pit crew is to change the tires, and they have to change those tires within 9 seconds.
Great. Like I've seen the pit stops. Crazy work.
Yeah, 9 seconds. And why we decided to go with that was she was coming off an ACL injury that she got, and Daytona, her first Daytona was coming up. So a lot of people didn't think that she'd be ready to get back on the track and things like that. So it's really like a hero's journey of like resilience and coming back, and not letting tough times bring you down, and the pressure and the expectations, and how all eyes are on you because you are the only black girl there. And they expect you to fail. That's just the world. That's men. That's the white men. That's just what the world expects. So she was just basically, battling the odds, and she did. She's phenomenal. She cares about her shit. She trains every day, maybe 3 times a day. Um, and she's fast with the tire changing. We did a lot of the filming at Rev Racing in North Carolina, in Charlotte, where they practice for the NASCAR people practice. Their coach is a black coach, Coach Phil Jackson. And when I was going to Rev Racing, I was expecting to see just white boys and maybe Brianna practicing, but I saw black boys and Brianna. So Coach Phil initiative is trying to bring more black people, black folks into NASCAR, more so black athletes, because come to find out, NASCAR or these teams, car teams, they weren't hiring necessarily athletes to change tires in 9 seconds. They were hiring mechanics to change the tires in 9 seconds. But Coach Phil's perspective is like, no, we need athletes to do this, because the strength, the agility, the precision, the hand-eye coordination, and all that is from sports. So you had some of the teams, the pit crew teams, were like football players for football players from A&T, like football players from these prestigious colleges who did not go pro NFL, but they went pro NASCAR.
That's crazy. Okay. Let's see. Street food. What's that? What's that about?
So Street Food is a Netflix docu-series that I worked on as production manager. And I worked on season 3 for the Miami episode. I'm from South Florida. So it's basically a docu-series about food where they go all over the world in different cities and they highlight like 2 or 3 local restaurant owners, but not like big fancy restaurant owners, like restaurant owners who own street food, like street food vendors,
Okay.
to get their stories about either how they came into it, um, how they started, and it's a lot of like meaningful, inspiring stories. The season 3, which was the U.S., that season 1 was Latin America, season 2 was Asia, and then Southeast Asia, and then season 3 was America. And it just shows like all these inspiring stories, whether they're immigrants who came to America to find a better living, whether they were single moms who were living out their cars and they found this talent to make a food truck. So it doesn't cover like fancy 5-star Michelin restaurants. It covers like it's gritty, it's very gritty. And I worked on the Miami episode, where they covered Miami food, even though I had to kind of bully them into not. People have a tendency when they come to Miami, they think it's just Cubans, 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 Cubans. And I feel like it's just an erasure of the people and the Black history that is in Miami, because we have a lot of Black history.
Man.
So I have to tell them like, hey guys, just remember Cuban food is not the only food in Miami. Like we have like Miami has so much great street food outside of the Cubans who came in the 60s. Like we're good, we're known for conch salad. We have Haitian cuisine, we have Jamaican cuisine, we have soul food. We do crab boils, we have crawfish, we do the fish fries and stuff like that. So we have so much Black street food also that I really had to tap them on their shoulder and like, hey, don't forget, just feature one Cuban restaurant. That's okay, but like, don't forget. Right, because I was like, I wouldn't have wanted to work on it if that was going to be the case, because I feel like it's a slap in the face for people from LA to come to my hometown where I was born and raised, and to come and tell the world that all Miami have is Cuban sandwiches and mojo pork, and that's not the case. Um,
They do that shit with Detroit. Like I've seen the Food Network go to Detroit, which is 90 something percent black people, and they find the 12 white people that cook in Detroit, and that's where they go. Like there's a style of restaurant in Detroit called Coney Island. Every fucking where. There's 2 downtown that the any real Detroiter doesn't step anywhere near. Food Network, those 2, because don't even get me started, because I'll get angry as shit. So what's the difference between a producer and a director?
so the producer is the number one person in charge. A lot of times people think the director's in charge.
I thought
No,
that.
no. The producer hires the director. The director is in charge if the director is the producer. Meaning, like, I direct also, and if it's a short film that I'm doing that I wrote that we're in production for, um, typically I hired myself as director, but I will hire another producer to take on all the other stuff so I can just focus on directing. So the producer, I say the PM producer means power. The PM producer means problem solver, and PM producer means king production assistant. Like you are the king PA. So the producer is in charge of basically everything from the idea to the execution in all phases of production, all 5 phases. They're in charge of development, making sure the script is developed, and not, they oversee every single step. They make decisions every single step. They are the number one top decision maker for everything trickle down. So if say the directors run out of time and like the AD suggests to cut the scene, it's not the director that can say okay, yes or no. It's really the producer to be like, let's just scrap it. So the producer is the one that calls the shots for everything, logistically and creatively. They get the money, they get the resources, they hire every single person on the crew. Um, they do negotiations. They it's theirs. The producer means it's their film, and they are the number one person in charge.
Yo, I had no freaking clue. So basically, the producer in football terms is like the general manager, and the
Basically, yeah.
director is like the coach.
Yes, 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 yes.
Okay, I got you.
Director can't make decisions. The only decisions the director can make and call shots on is creative, like on like the shots itself, like the
Okay.
story. But a producer can come in and be like, I don't think we need that shot. Let's just scrap it and move on. Or I think that maybe we should do the lighting like this and move on. Sometimes producers, they don't tend to step on the director's toes. It's a collaboration thing where they'd be like, okay, let's figure out how to solve this creative problem. But producer does have say in the final say so in the creative, even above the director.
What project that you've done would you say you were at your apex?
Um, like you mean as producer?
I producer, director, take your pick.
Um, I would say the most would be the most recent film we did, our horror short. We the Newlyweds. We did that in November. I think that was the time that was our biggest production, meaning that was our first film where we had um like we had like a studio, like we were operating like we were actually on like a sound stage. So we had a big location space. We had holding for cast. We were able to have a rehearsal room for cast. We had a room for costumes. We had a room for art. Like it was a real deal functioning set. Way big. It was like probably like 70 crew members. I probably was managing about 120 people on set between cast and crew. Um, and that's when I really had to like kind of lock in. I wasn't the director for that. The director is my partner and his writing partner. My boyfriend and his writing partner. So they were the directors on that. But even then, I would have to like jump into like um with the directors and pull them aside and be like, "Hey, we ain't got time. Y'all might have to cut some scenes." Or,
Yo,
da, 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 da.
how does that work at home though?
Huh?
How does that work at home?
What do you mean?
You're the producer, he's the director.
Oh, how we work together. Well, he's a producer also. So if I'm directing, like Skatel, he was the executive producer for Skatel, where I didn't have to really produce. So
Okay.
all I was doing was just on set, managing, directing, and all that stuff, getting the shots out of the way. But even then, he would have to come tap me on my shoulder and be like, "Hey, this is the situation right now. Let's see if you can cut this, and we do this tomorrow, or da 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 da, stuff like that." So it works because we're both in the same industry and we both are in the same industry at the same professional level. Him a little bit more higher than me because he started off in the industry where and then started to do indie where I started indie and then started to go into the industry. So
Got
it
you.
works because we understand protocol and no one is really teaching anybody anything in a sense of like if you hire like a PA or like someone who wants to do camera operating but haven't really worked on a set and don't know set protocol, who are just coming off the street, they have a hard time with navigating a set. They have a hard time with schedule, call times, um just how a professional set is supposed to run. Walkies, like we had walkies, we had Video Village, lingo, them not understanding the lingo and stuff like that. And I give grace for that because everyone didn't go to film school and everyone didn't work on an ABC set or a Netflix set. So we try to give people opportunities to learn on our sets, but also to a certain degree because if we're hiring you for like a DP or like a high position, like a department head position, you got to have some kind of
You got to
set.
know what you're doing.
You got to know what you're doing. Um, so because we come in equally yoked, we know how it is. It's not like, I'm combating his thoughts or he's combating my thoughts,
Yeah,
and we
Christ, I'm
both
sorry.
understand why. Like, he's not telling me I need to cut my shots to be an asshole. He's telling me if I need to cut my shots because I'm a producer also. I'm like, oh shit, we're probably running out of time, so how can I combine it and stuff like that, and vice versa. And just communicate, know that you're on the same team. um and my one rule is, I had to tell him that because he's such a workaholic sometimes. I had to tell him, like, once we come through the door, I don't want to hear nothing.
Oh, see, I'm way too petty for that. Like, I don't know if I could turn it off. Like, if you piss me off on the set, that pissed off is going back home.
Well, yeah, that we've had that where it's like, I ain't like that, but I'm gonna let it ride till we get home and we'll talk it out. But what I mean, what doesn't come in the house is like, if we had a good day at work or whatever, and it's like, okay, we wrap, and like, I want to just not think about work until the next day. Like, okay, we wrap, let's just go home and just not talk about work. Like, we're gonna be there tomorrow. Let's just come home and just turn it off. Even sometimes now, because we work on a lot of things together, as a team. So it's like, even sometimes now, like if we're on the phone talking, I'd be like, babe, we talked about work all day. We ain't talk about nothing else. So I'm like, hey, sir, like, I'm always the one to keep the balance. And I know he doesn't do it on purpose because, he's a man and we have
Wow.
goals, and
Wow. Oh. Oh my God.
he has goals and high goals for us. So all he wants to do is just work, and I appreciate it because I'm like, okay, you want to provide, but also it's like, balance, work-life balance.
Is there a story out there that you want to tell? I give you a blank check. There's somebody's story out there that you want to tell that it's like your dream movie.
You mean like a biopic?
And not necessarily even a biopic. If there's like a an event story, not necessarily a person.
Is there a story I want to tell? There's a doc that I do want to do. It would be this doc called, I forgot what it's called. I forgot what I called it, but essentially is a doc on South Florida, and essentially Florida as a whole, but mostly South Florida through Black eyes. Just to kind of show, like I was talking about before, like our culture, how heavy rooted we are in Black history, like being the Harlem of the South, having the Underground Railroad at Cape Florida. My high school is a historically Black high school. A lot of schools down here are historically Black schools, meaning, like, just like how you have HBCUs, our elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools are also stamped as historically Black, blah, blah, blah. So my high school has a museum, my elementary school has a museum, marching band culture, to kind of show that Florida is more than what the media portrays it to be, meaning Cuba and South Beach, because those are literally microscopic parts of it. Like South Beach, you can drive through South Beach in like 10 minutes. South Beach is just one little strip. And it's a Jewish beach. Like, there's a lot of Jewish people that live there, but you wouldn't know because all they show is the party strip. It's very residential. And then, like, Calle Ocho is just 8th Street, and Little Havana, you can drive through Little Havana within like 10-20 minutes. Whereas the rest of that is Black people, Black Southern country, Caribbean people. And anytime I say I'm from Florida or talk about Florida, I get hit with, well, Florida's not the South, it's da 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 da. And I'm like, well, why is it not? I'm always like, well, why is it not the South? Like, no one can tell me why it's not the South. They'll think it's not the South
Because it's tropical.
because it's tropical, but it's the tropical South. It's still the South culturally, geographically. It's tropical, yes. Scientifically, yes. But culturally,
And actually, that's probably the biggest argument against it being the South is culturally,
yeah,
because the
it's the
culture has not assimilated as much as other black communities in the South.
exact
So
because that's the media. The media shows it as this tropical. Granted, it is the subtropics. It is that. Like we can't deny that. Science is science. Um, but culturally, like the people, like they do the same things that the people do. We eat the same things that the people
oh
do.
no, 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 no.
Not so much the same things as far as like, well, we have, like I said, we have fish fries, we eat crawfish, we have crawfish boils, we have crab boils, we do the dirt bikes, they hunt gators, possums, rabbits. There's farms, we got farms down here. My mom lives next to a cow farm that has palm trees and coconut trees. So it's like it's culturally, like I said, still the South. Martin Luther Day is a big day down here. There's marching bands. We have marching bands galore. We're part of I was in the marching band when I was in high school. I was in every single Martin Luther Day King Day parade since I was a Girl Scout up until high school. We celebrate a lot of the Black holidays down here. So when I said like we eat some of the same food, I mean like the catfish and the same things. May not be the same seasonings or the same styles or same cuisines, but we also have our own cuisines, like our
I
Cobb
got you.
salad and um, ribs and stuff like that. How they do their ribs and stuff here, gator, and all that stuff. So essentially, that doc would be to show. I call Florida the forgotten South, to show Florida that, like, yes, it is paradise and is a vacation spot, but also like not identifying the Black culture that's down here is erasure. It's
Yeah.
erasure of our Southern culture, because being Southern is not a monolith at all. Like Atlanta is different from Houston, which is different from New Orleans, which is different from Charlotte, which is different from, Virginia, but they're still all the South. We have our own lingo, we have our own dances, we have our own hairstyles, we have our own local music. Um, and yeah, essentially just to kind of show the Black history and the cultural history in it. We were the first free Black settlement after slavery in St. Augustine. So there's so many little Black history nuggets that we don't get much credit for, that I would love to showcase in that. So it would just kind of be like a love letter to my
Yeah.
home and my state, and just to show people like, hey, there's Black people over here.
The Forgotten South is a great name. Like I would watch that. What's next as far as movies for you?
What's next is to get Skatel funded for the feature. Skatel is the short film is a proof of concept for the feature. So that is what we are working on now, to just kind of start using the short film as like a calling card to get funding, excuse me, for the full thing.
What's the premise of Skatel?
So Skatel is a semi autobiography of me and my son. The premise is this. I always explain it bad. So it's about this. It's about this single mom. She is 21. She's in college. She's the oldest, and she's kind of like her mother's co-parent. Her mom is just emotionally unavailable. So she finds out that her son has special needs. My son is on the spectrum and has ADHD and a lot of he had a lot of development delays. So it's to show like the single mom struggling to take care of her special needs child until she finds a job in Atlanta as this bottle girl, and becomes like the popular bottle girl in the club and making the most money of her life, until her rival in the club gets her fired out of pettiness and stuff like that. And then she comes back and do this Jamaican dancehall contest to win the prize. So it's a coming of age to kind of show like this single mom desiring freedom. And that's like freedom from all the expectations on her, from being the oldest, from coming home with a baby as a teen, and the expectations that her mom has on her, that society has on her, and all that other stuff, and her choosing herself in the end. She loves to dance and she wants to be a writer, so she gains the confidence to enter this dance hall contest, not knowing if she was going to win or not. But the prize money was essential because her baby daddy is a dead end. Like she decided that she can't lean on him. So she kind of just gains the confidence to enter this contest to win $15,000 to get her and her
Damn.
son their own, to just start their own future together. So yeah, so it's a lot of different themes and nuances, and also touches on disability awareness for our community, and especially for young moms, because you don't expect that, especially
Yeah.
when you're already so young, you don't know what you're dealing with. But now my son is 16 now, and I'm well versed in it. I have all the tools and stuff like that. So it's also to kind of show like that just because you started there doesn't mean you end there, and you
Yeah.
can choose yourself, and you can be selfish, and you can put yourself first, and you can make it out your situation.
Are you doing crowdfunding for it?
No, I'm retired from crowdfunding. I did like 7 crowdfunding campaigns in my career. I'm no. For feature, no. It's being shopped around, and doing the things to find the attachments, and we have few star attachments. So it's doing what it needs to do to get eyes on it and funding, but Hollywood is slow, so you just gotta take it a day at a time.
Okay, intern comes to work for you. Give me 3 pieces of advice you've learned over the years you tell an intern.
I want to tell the intern, do not be afraid to ask questions. If you do not know, you do not know. No question is a stupid question. Um, pace yourself. Pace yourself, pace yourself, pace yourself, meaning do not take on more than you can chew. Be real with what you can handle. Um, because you can get caught up just collecting so many things and exhaust yourself. And what else? Tell the story you want to tell. Everyone has a story, everyone has a different perspective. Tell the story you want to tell, build it, and they will come. Build it
As
and they
a as a director, do you have a particular style?
I'm still learning my style. I think I kind of figured it out with Scatel. I use a lot of colors, a lot of color theory, a lot of bright, robust colors. Um, and I like stuff to be very gritty, like very grounded. So gritty and colorful, even though it might not seem like they go together. um, and music plays a very big part in my films. Not necessarily like licensed music, like songs off the radio, but like original score to really like um, evoke emotion in the tone and stuff.
Oh, we got to get Rita as music supervisor. She's phenomenal at that.
For sure.
If people want to get in contact with you, they want to work with you, or they want you to, do a project for them, how do they go about doing that?
Um, our Instagram is FWM Productions, Filled with Magic Productions. And then you can email us at productions at filledwithmagic.com.
I want to thank you immensely for stopping by. This has been a phenomenal conversation. If you ever need an old fat dude in a movie, I got you. I'm not sure if there's anything I can possibly do for you, but if it is, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I got you.
Thank you so much. This was very fun. And thank you for refreshing questions. They're very refreshing.
Oh, well, I'm glad they weren't stupid. Although I disagree, there are stupid questions. I personally have asked stupid questions.
I wouldn't say stupid. I would say just like the kind of the common questions that people ask me all the time.
I try. I hate because I hate hearing those questions a million times. Like I don't like people asking me the same shit. So
Right.
I try to go out my way to ask things that people may want to know, or myself that I want to know, but not the same shit over and over and over. So
Right, right,
I don't
right.
know. It works sometimes. Sometimes it's horrible. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by, and you have a phenomenal day on purpose.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm gonna let you go, and we will be back in I don't know a half an hour. We've got Joel Fluent Green coming on this show. This has been Jobs. This has been another episode of Intellectually Petty Radio, and this it was truly, truly, truly an honor to talk to Moon. Yo, man, one of these days, I wouldn't. I don't have the patience to direct a movie. And I damn sure don't have the patience to be a producer, but I wouldn't mind like paying for somebody to do a movie once I get there. Anyway, on that note, we out of here. Shout out to you, Rita. I got the best manager in the galaxy and beyond. If you need anything, you want to get on the show, any business inquiries, please reach out to the lady with the golden ear Googler. We out. Peace.